Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Harrison and you're watching Ride Informed. Today we're going to do a race report on the Northwoods Enduro in Hot Springs, Arkansas. We just got back from this race. We had a great time. We're going to go over each stage, what I learned at this race, and how my 2022 Stumpjumper Evo did at its first Enduro. Let's get into it. You're watching Ride Informed. The Northwoods Enduro is in Hot Springs, Arkansas. I was really excited to do this race because Hot Springs is an area I've never explored and I've never ridden there. So it was exciting to do an Enduro in this area and to get to explore new trails that I have never ridden before. It was also great because the trails here in St. Louis, Missouri are very wet. They're not rideable. So the chance to get out of town for a weekend and ride some dry trails, I couldn't pass it up. So me and a crew of my friends from Trailhead Bicycles loaded our bikes up and headed down south to Hot Springs to compete in this race. The pre-ride was a little bit cold. Actually, it was very cold. We were able to ride most of the stages except for stage 4 and 5. We didn't want to do a huge ride on that first day because we didn't want to blow ourselves up for Sunday, which was the day of the race. It was very exciting though. The trails were really fun, and more importantly, they were in great shape. Pre-riding gave us a chance to look at most of the stages, and immediately we all learned that Hot Springs has some incredible trails. They are extremely fun. They dry really well. Only a week prior to the race, there was actually snow on the ground, so the fact that the trails were in such great shape is a real testament to the terrain and the people who built these trails. The Northwoods Enduro is put on by Slaughter Trail Guides. It's a part of the Southern Enduro Tour, and this is the first Southern Enduro Tour race that I've ever done. After doing the pre-ride and getting an eyes on how fun these trails were, we were all really excited to race on Sunday. During the pre-ride, I had the GoPro on, so all the pre-ride footage is of me riding. During the race, we decided to put the GoPro on my brother Patrick. He followed me down every descent, so you get to see me riding down every trail in third person. So we started the race riding the first transition to stage 1. Stage 1 was a trail called Zigzag. It was a very switchbacky descent with several 180-degree switchback turns. These turns were not bermed, so it was really critical to brake before these corners so you could ride through the corners smoothly. And that's my biggest takeaway from riding this stage on the pre-ride. Unfortunately, with it being the first stage of the day, my nerves and excitement got the best of me. I pretty much flew into every corner with too much speed, having to brake and almost track stand at every apex of each turn, and then blow myself up sprinting out of every corner. So I was a little disappointed with that, but overall, I got to the bottom of the stage with no mechanicals, no crashes, and fully warmed up at this point. So really things could have been a lot worse.
This is a cool trail.
So we all made our way to stage 2. Stage 2 was a trail called Ragnarok. It is the longest stage of the race, and it's a really flowy, really fast, long descent. I felt much better on this stage. I felt like I was finally warmed up. I rode a lot smoother and had a really fun time descending this trail. That was really the confidence booster that I needed after feeling like I messed up quite a bit on the first stage. So overall, felt really good about my time on Ragnarok, and at this point, I felt warmed up and well into the enduro.
Rainy.
After stage 2, we made our way to the third stage, which was a trail called Lucky 13. I felt like for most of the riders in this race, stage 3 was kind of the crux of the race. Lucky 13 is a double black trail with many big jumps, several large gaps, and although I enjoyed riding down the trail, a lot of these jumps and gaps were just a step above my comfort level. I really struggle with lipped jumps, especially if there's a big gap in between the landing. So my goal with this stage was to make it down smoothly and fast without crashing or injuring myself. And I feel like I achieved that. I definitely left some time on this stage not hitting the main lines, but I still had a decent time and was happy with the effort on this stage overall, and felt relieved to have the hardest trail behind us. So after stage 3, we had to ride the transition to stage 4 and 5. These are the only two stages we were unable to pre-ride. Stage 4 and 5 were the farthest trails kind of away from the rest of the course, and we really didn't have time, unfortunately, to get out and get our eyes on stage 4 and 5. At the start of the stage, everything started out really well. It was a pretty fast start. The trail's a little bit off camber, then it turns right, and you really have a straight shot down the side of the mountain. Unfortunately, there was a split in the trail, the left side being a clear pathway down the mountain. The right side, there was a downed small tree, and I was moving fast enough and not looking far enough ahead to where when I took the right line, by the time I saw that downed tree, I didn't have enough time to react and bunny hop it. But I was able to salvage it by jumping back on my bike and getting down the rest of the stage with no mechanicals or no crashes. And this leads me to my favorite part of enduro races. At this point, I was really upset with myself. You know, I probably lost 20, maybe even 30 seconds with that silly mistake. And anyone that's raced in enduro knows that that can be a really big difference in terms of where you place. So I was really down on myself, really beating myself up. But what I love about racing enduros versus any other form of bike racing is that you get to do the ride with your friends. And all of my friends were still having such a great time. They were still very stoked on the race. My brother told me not to worry about it. And as we rode to stage 5, seeing how much fun everyone else was having really allowed me to kind of let go of that mistake. And instead of dwelling and feeling down and angry about that mess up, I just let it go and enjoyed that I was riding nice trails with my friends. Stage 5. That was one of my favorite stages from the races. Again, it was a trail that descended the side of a mountain. It was a relatively flowy but also fairly technical descent. There were some parts of it that were off camber. It was a trail that went through an area of the forest that had experienced a controlled burn. This was really cool. It was an enjoyable trail. I felt like I rode it very smooth. And after not riding stage 4 that well, I was nervous about not doing well on this stage because we weren't able to pre-ride it. But luckily, I was able to have a smooth run. And again, this was another confidence booster. You know, I had a smooth stage after messing up on the previous stage. So I really enjoyed stage 4.
This is awesome. Ooh.
Stage 6 was my favorite stage of the entire race. It's one of the shorter stages, but it was a really, really janky, loamy, off-camber trail. It was a rough cut trail that was made, I'm pretty sure, just for this race, and I really enjoyed it. It's the kind of trail that you would see in areas like Squamish, British Columbia, which I've ridden before. It really reminded me of that area. And it just suited my skill set. Unlike stage 3 with big steep lip jumps that I struggle with, this type of terrain really fits me and what I like about mountain biking.
easy here. All right, this is over.
So we all made our way up to stage 7, the final stage of the race. And the only thing that was really on my mind was wanting to put together a smooth run to get to the bottom of the trail and finish the race without a crash or any mechanicals, and kind of becomes a wide open, straight shot. Now, during the pre-ride, when I got to this section of trail, at the very end of this descent, there's a steep right turn. And because of all the pine on the ground and the loam of this trail, it was difficult to see that turn. So in the pre-ride, I just rode straight off the trail into the woods, and that was definitely on my mind during the run. I didn't want to do that again during the race, and of course, I almost did. As you'll see in the footage, right as we got to this right turn, I had to slam on the brakes. I locked up both wheels, but luckily, salvaged the run and did not run off the trail like I did in the pre-ride. I was able to then get to the bottom of the descent, finish the stage up, and finish the race.
Well.
Of us from the shop had a clean race. No one crashed, no one had any mechanicals. So we were all really stoked about a great weekend of riding. Caleb placed, I think, 3rd in juniors, which was awesome. And Emily, I believe, got 2nd in the women's pro division, which is amazing. And overall, I had a ton of fun at this enduro. Slaughter Trail Guides always does a great job putting a well-organized, very fun race on. From the rest stops to the way the courses were marked, it was all done really, really well. This was also my first chance to really test my 2022 Stumpjumper Evo. I built this bike up about 2 months ago. I made a build video on the channel, so make sure to check that out if you're interested in the bike. And I was really impressed with it. I built this bike specifically to race enduros, and I was so happy during the race with how the bike performed. It climbed really well, but on really steep technical descents, it felt really stable and extremely confidence-inspiring. We'll probably do a full review of the bike now that I've got some miles on it, so stay tuned for that for sure. If you guys have any questions about the trails in Hot Springs or racing enduros or anything in this video, feel free to leave a comment. We will definitely respond. If you enjoyed the video, please like, and we'd really appreciate it if you could also subscribe. Thanks for tuning in. This is Ride Informed.